Hey, and thanks for joining me today. I'm going to show you today how to automatically update your maps whenever data that's being collected in the app Fulcrum is synchronized from your field team. So let's get into it. So if you haven't used Fulcrum before, I recommend checking it out. A lot of our Mango customers use it. It's a fantastic field data collection application. It lets you create really user-friendly collection forms. And so your field team can go out anywhere, online or offline, with their mobile device and collect location data that includes all of the attributes you might need about assets, infrastructure, really anything that you need to collect in the field. One of the pain points we've found is that a lot of our customers would like to keep the map updated more regularly, but they don't have time to be constantly downloading the CSV from Fulcrum and re-uploading that CSV into Mango so that the map visualization updates. Their end users might be in all parts of the world and in all time zones, and really we want to be able to deliver them the most up-to-date map visualizations at all times. So Fulcrum has a feature called Data Shares, which in combination with two other applications, we can automate this process and really have this trigger once a day or several times a day or once a week, depending on the pace that you need to keep your data updated. So ordinarily, when we're working in Fulcrum, like I said, we'd need to download that data and manually re-upload it. We could automate the re-uploads through Dropbox Data Sync. That's available in Mango on the enterprise and agency plans. And while this solves the upload problem, it still requires the manual intervention of downloading that CSV file and placing it into a Dropbox folder. Now, what we're going to do today is work with Zapier and Dropbox, and we're going to streamline that workflow so it's completely automated. We'll have a schedule that triggers once a day in this tutorial, but like I said, we can set it to any interval that our data sync application allows, which is basically more than an hour. 1 hour intervals would be suitable. So Zapier is going to send that trigger, and using the Fulcrum Data Shares endpoint, we're going to pull in the latest data. We're going to send it to Dropbox, and Mango is going to pull that in from Dropbox and automatically update your maps. So without further ado, let's get into it. Okay, so here is our Fulcrum application. We can see we've had some new and updated records over the past week. And what we want to do is make sure that these new and updated records are always in sync. So first thing we need to do is enable Fulcrum's Data Shares feature. So this one's already enabled. And what that gives us is a range of URLs that will load the latest version of the data. Let me just open a GeoJSON one for you to see as an example. So what we can see here is the GeoJSON version of our data set, and that is up to date with the latest version here in Fulcrum. The CSV one is the one we want to use for today's example, because this will allow us to re-upload that data in Mango via Dropbox Data Sync. So I'm going to copy that here, and I'm also just going to save that link. And I've got a Dropbox folder here on my desktop, and this will automatically sync that file. Once I've saved it there, it's automatically going to sync that to my Dropbox account. And that's important because we're going to grab that from Dropbox shortly. So this is all we need from here. Let's make sure we can come back in here to grab that CSV. We will need it again, I'm sure. So here we are in Mango, and I am going to add this new data set that I've downloaded as a new layer. So I'm going to come into my Dropbox folder, and I'm going to grab that file, and we're going to upload it here to Mango. And once it's finished its processing, we'll see that layer appear on the map. Okay, here we are. Here's our data set of all our field collected data points. We can open up the information pop-up and we can see all the attributes here for each record. This is obviously a default pop-up with no styling or formatting, so we could style that and format that if we need to later. What I want to do next is set up the synchronization with this version of the file in Dropbox. So we can see here, this is already synced. This is my remote Dropbox folder. So we can see this is already synchronized into Dropbox. And now I want to use this version of the file to update, or set up rather, a configuration of the Dropbox data sync in my account, so that anytime I update this data set in Dropbox, it's going to pull it into this map and update this map and the data within it. So let's open up the data set here in Mango. I'm going to go to Data Sync, and I'm going to connect to my Dropbox account. Signed in already, so that's automatic. I'm going to choose CSV, and I'm going to open Dropbox, and here I am in my Dropbox field folder. So I'm going to select that file. Now, this file, it contains exactly the same data that does exist in my map already, but that's okay. We don't need it to contain anything new in order to configure the Dropbox synchronization. So I've got a version in Mango, I've got the exact same version in Dropbox. I'm going to use that to set up the synchronization via data sync. Okay, here we are. So I'm going to save that and let that process, and that's going to configure the data sync for us. And there is the data sync completed. So now what we have, if we open up the data sync panel again, we can see that we have the file and the file size, and this is configured and ready to go. So anytime that this file here is overwritten in Dropbox, this is going to be pulled into Mango, and it's going to update here on the map and the data set. So we'll get a new visualization with all the new records, and the data table here will be updated as well. What we would need to do in order to have new data come in is we want to set up this scheduled update via Zapier. So Zapier is also a really great product like Fulcrum. So Zapier is a really fantastic app. It lets you connect just about any application to any other application and perform a series of workflow steps that you would otherwise have to do manually. It's going to save us a lot of time, and it's going to automate this so that every day at a set time, if I come down here, here's how the Zap works. We have a daily scheduled trigger, and that trigger will tell Dropbox to pull in the file from our data shares from Fulcrum. So if we remember, we go back to this data shares panel in Fulcrum, we have this URL. And every time this URL loads, it delivers the full updated payload that exists in Fulcrum. And what that means in Zapier is we can take that and drop it into the Dropbox folder and overwrite our existing version of this data. And of course, that's what triggers our data sync to pull in that data into Mango and update the maps. So let's get started. Let's try this. Zap. Okay, so there's going to be 3 stages. We're going to connect the apps we need. We're going to set up the Zap, and we're going to turn it on. Let's get started. So, which trigger on weekends do you want to use? Yes. So basically, this is going to do every day of the week. If you didn't want weekends, you can switch that off. I want every day of the week. I have a rolling team that works 7 days a week, and they're going to be doing updates at all times. What day or what time of the day do I want to use? I want it at 8 a.m. That lets us tackle time zones. Okay, so that's setting up the scheduler. And here we go. We need to connect a Dropbox account. Now, where to save the file? I want to put it in the field folder because this is where that file exists. So what this is doing is every day when the schedule triggers, we're going to upload a file to Dropbox. And that file is, of course, our CSV shares file. So I'm going to copy that again. I'm going to open this and say custom text. I'm going to paste that in there. and that's it. We leave all these the same. We want to overwrite the file, and we can leave the file name and the file extension the same. We don't need to change these. We hit next, and we send a test. Okay, test file sent. That means that this CSV was successfully uploaded into our Dropbox. Okay, and that is all we need to do for configuration. So we have a scheduler to trigger at 8 a.m. every day, and it's going to upload our shares URL file into Dropbox. Turn it on and let it run. Okay, and that's it. The Zap is on. This means that at 8 a.m. every day, this shares URL is going to be loaded and pulled into this Dropbox folder and overwrite this file here, which is already synced to Mango. So that's going to be pulled in, and that once that's pulled in, that will update here on the map, and we'll get a new map visualization with any new records. If we interrogate these records, we'll see the updated or new attribute information, and this is completely automated. We no longer need to update manually. We no longer need to do anything except wait for our field team to collect data and then sync it here to our app in Fulcrum. So in the description down below, I'm going to link in the recipe for the Zap that will get this working in Zapier, and some more details on how to set up this workflow for yourself and automate your field collection. As always, if you have any questions, please leave a comment below or send us an email, support@mangomap.com. And of course, if you're not a Mango user currently, you're very welcome to come in and sign up for a free trial. Just go to mangomap.com and hit the sign up button. It's a free trial, no strings attached, no credit card required. Come in, see if Mango fits into your workflows for data collection and automation. Thanks, and see you next time.